I want this to be a quick video, but there's a bit of information to go through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a workaround, a potential workaround, and I'm going to talk about a possible solution to this problem. Again, it's not going to work for everybody, but if you have a MacBook and a mesh network, if you've upgraded to some kind of mesh network and you're seeing intermittent Wi-Fi connectivity with your MacBook, try this. Try going into your router settings, and I'm using a fritzbox here. Yeah, you've probably never heard of it, but going into your router settings and assigning a fixed IP address from the router for your MacBook. I mean, you might be able to, you can of course do that from your MacBook as well, but why would you want your Wi-Fi interface to have a fixed IP address? It's just not logical when you're moving a piece of hardware around. So in my case, I would go into my network here and go to the MacBook, which is idle at the moment. It's called Peter, don't know why. And I'm just going to say to it, right, this MAC address here, which is the MAC address of the MacBook, I only want it to have this IP address. Always give it the same IP address. I did that this morning, and I've had intermittent connectivity on Wi-Fi dropping every 5 or 10 minutes. And I made that change, and it stayed stable for over 2 hours. So there's the possible solution. Okay, I hope that's helpful for somebody. If it is, please stick it down in the comments and let me know. I can't obviously cover how you do that on an Eero or any kind of Netgear products or anything like that. So Google Wi-Fi, whatever. I don't know, but there will be a way of going in there and saying I want to give this bit of hardware the same IP address every time. I'm sure you can figure that out if you're bothered enough about it. And the other solution, which if this isn't working for you, I'm afraid and you are using fritzbox stuff, if you're like me and you're using Fritz stuff, the only other way of doing this is basically pulling everything off the mesh and saying, well, I don't actually want it to be part of the mesh. I just want to use these as individual devices. Because they're already set up, they will continue to send traffic between each other and they will work fine. In fact, I saw a speed increase when I did this. So in that case, what I would do is I would go into my network and I'd go into one of the nodes here, say bedroom. I'll edit that and I'll just go down here and say remove it from the mesh and reset. And then it resets the master here, so the actual router, deletes all the settings for that device, it repicks it back up on the network, carries on working. Almost no outage at all, it does it perfectly. But what you'll see, you won't get those disconnections on the MacBook anymore. That absolutely works, 100%. I mean, I've tested that numerous times. I've integrated a few devices back into the mesh, and then I found the disconnection started again, and then I deleted them again, and I was then suddenly I was still getting the disconnections, and I thought, oh hang on, maybe it doesn't work. Realized I hadn't deleted one of them from the mesh. Deleted that one, worked perfectly. No idea why this works, no idea why it happens at all, but it does. And I don't know if it's some kind of additional layer or standard of Wi-Fi that gets added when you have a mesh. So because there's obviously information, usually a Wi-Fi client makes a decision about whether or not it changes channel and does all this sort of changes access point, all that sort of stuff. With the mesh, some of that control is passed back to the mesh. I think it sort of says it makes the decisions on where the best place to be connected is. And I don't know whether that additional layer isn't fully supported on MacBooks or what. But if you have experienced those problems and either of those two things work for you, please do put it in the comments. Let others know whether this works. Let them know if it doesn't work. But for me, it has. So hopefully, usually in these circumstances, it works for somebody else. So again, just going over the solution. Fix the IP address for your MacBook. You don't need to do it for anything else. Give it a fixed IP address on your network from your devices, from your mesh devices, or alternatively, and this is kind of not an ideal, this is a workaround, remove them and make them non-mesh devices entirely and just make them individual kind of repeaters, if you like, around the house that all will work together with each other, but don't get their information from one central point like this. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. See you soon.